Can you give me a second?
Yeah, sure, I'll be there in a minute. What's up?
I don't know, but something's definitely wrong with the house.
House? Oh, I swear to God, it's mold again. I'm gonna...
Yeah, that's been like happening all day. And it keeps happening when we go insane.
It's almost like the house is needing to load different parts of itself. This wasn't in our contract, right? It definitely wasn't in our contract.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it keeps fucking happening. I'm gonna fucking sue.
Fair point. I'll check different areas of the house first. Oh, come on, those doors didn't even look the same! So, now my house is loading like it's on an old PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1? Now that sounds like classic Resident Evil. For those of you who don't know, Resident Evil is a survival horror franchise developed by Capcom. The series got its start in 1994 when the game producer Tokuro Fujiwara wanted to reimagine a game he developed for the Famicom called Sweet Home, a movie tie-in game. For this, he enlisted a small-time game director called Shinji Mikami, at that point only known for directing the masterpiece known as Goof Troop. They developed alongside a small team, and after 2 years of development, Resident Evil was released for the PlayStation 1 in 1996, to critical acclaim. The series' popularity grew massively after the first release, which led to many spin-offs and sequels, including a remake of the original game released in 2002 for the GameCube. This remake was also developed by Shinji Mikami, as he wanted to make a game that was closer to the original vision of Resident Evil, but with, at the time, modern hardware. Well, if the universe is going to torture me with classic loading doors, may as well play the game that inspired it. This is a Resident Evil remake.
Resident Evil.
In the summer of 1998, an elite police squad known as STARS, consisting of Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Barry Burton, Joseph Frost, and Albert Wesker, are sent into the Arkalay Mountains near Raccoon City to investigate a bizarre cannibalistic murder. They are also looking for the missing Bravo team of STARS that was first sent in to investigate these murders, but never returned. Early into the investigation, they find Bravo team's helicopter abandoned except for a dead body of one of its members. The night only gets stranger for the team as they are attacked by a pack of seemingly undead dogs. Brad, the helicopter pilot, decides he doesn't want any part of this and dips, leaving the survivors to flee towards a strange mansion in the distance. Once the surviving members of STARS make it to the mansion, a gunshot is heard, and you take control of your chosen character. That's right, I said chosen character. At the start of the game, you get to pick if you want to play as Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, which gives you different skill sets and makes slight changes to a story. I'm gonna tell you now though, you pick Jill, because good old crayon boy Chris isn't the brightest. The first major difference between the two characters is their item slots. Both characters have a select amount of items they can take with them around the mansion, Jill getting 8 slots while Chris only gets 6, making Chris much less versatile. Both characters also get a single item that goes in its own slot. Jill gets a lockpick, allowing her to open certain doors without a key, whereas Chris gets a lighter that's used for around 2 puzzles and another mechanic I'll get into later. The thing is, Jill still gets the lighter for herself, and now Chris has to find small keys for those locked doors. Well, what advantages does Chris get, you may be asking? A bigger health pool and a slightly faster walking speed. Chris, I'm really not going to look forward to playing your campaign again. There are more issues with Chris I'll get into later, but even with the base differences, Jill is a much better character to pick, especially for the first-time player. With your character sorted, we can start to talk about other major mechanics of the game. First off, you have no control of the camera. It's in set locations in every area, making the game feel a little clunky, but that clunkiness helps increase the game's tension. This philosophy of putting the player on edge is a reason for a lot of the game's mechanics, from the controls being slightly limited, the item management I mentioned earlier, to even needing an item called an ink ribbon to even save your progress, and if you die, it's back to the last time you saved. Getting back into the game's narrative, Jill/Chris goes on ahead to explore the mansion and finds the main threat you'll be fighting on this adventure. Yeah, no, that's about right. After Barry takes care of the zombie with his trusty Magnum, or when you just run away as Chris since Barry doesn't appear in his story, from now on, I'll mainly be talking about the game from Jill's point of view, but I'll show off Chris's differences when they appear. Once the first zombie is taken care of, you're pretty much free to explore the mansion and reveal its dark secrets. The game is structured like a maze, with you going around different rooms and finding items to help you on your adventure. Not too long, you can use an arrowhead to make your way into this underground dungeon, I guess. Inside you'll find the sword key and the first objective linked to game progression, the 4 masks, which makes me think that Capcom didn't properly learn the Free Monkeys myth. The masks are scattered all around the mansion, and as you explore you'll come across some safe rooms. These rooms not only contain typewriters, to which you can save your game, but also item boxes, which you can use to store items you don't need. In the standard difficulties, all item boxes are also magically linked to each other, so you don't have to worry about going to specific save rooms for specific items. And you'll get a fair few items throughout. Some can be key items like maps, keys, or solutions to puzzles, or they can be items to help you survive, like weapons, ammo for said weapons, defensive items that push back enemies who grab you, and herbs to heal yourself. You can also combine herbs together to make stronger powders, which makes me think that to heal, both characters just do this. Keep in mind though that Resident Evil isn't a modern day zombie game where you go around murdering undead hordes with reckless abandon. At least not yet anyway. No, this is a classic Resident Evil in which resources are scarce, all enemies can be a threat if you're not prepared, and you need to pick your battles carefully. Otherwise, you may find yourself in a dead save file where you have no ammo or healing items. Resident Evil Remake I do feel is fairly forgiving in the amount of items you can find, but it can definitely be worrying for a first-time player. Now that you've got your bearings, you'll find many interesting moments throughout the game's first third, such as finding the shotgun in the living room and the next room over being booby-trapped, needing you to be saved by Barry.
Say the line, Bart!
Jill sandwich!
Or as Chris, you just die, unless you place the broken shotgun in the living room beforehand. Further along this path, you'll get your hands on the dog whistle, which is a note attached saying you should use it on the west balcony. However, on your way back to the main hall, you'll have these guys to contend with. Zombie dogs, or Cerberuses, are fast and kick your shit in if you're not prepared. They go down fairly quickly with a well-placed shotgun blast, but god can they be hard to hit sometimes. After using the dog whistle on the balcony and prying a replica key off a Cerberus's collar, screw it, you can disarm a booby trap on the second floor to get the armor key. With both keys in hand, you can now find all 4 masks, one located behind a simple color puzzle in the gallery, one behind a much more frustrating armor puzzle that I can never remember the solution for, and another located in the greenhouse, which you need herbicide to kill a weird plant that blocks your path. The final mask does take a bit longer to acquire, as it's behind multiple story moments and a puzzle. First, starting off when you find Bravo team member Richard slumped on the floor. If you're playing as Chris, you also meet the rookie member of STAR's Bravo team, Rebecca Chambers, which we learn way later has been having a really shit 2 days. Rebecca also takes Barry's spot as the companion character for Chris. Both characters have to run back to the safe room on the other side of the mansion to get serum for Richard, as he's been poisoned by an unknown monster. Once you get the serum, you'll need to assemble some piano sheets to unlock a secret passageway in the bar. Keep in mind though, Richard can die from his injuries and you'll lose out on a few items. A bit off topic, but this is where I'm going to start my own little Chris counter. For all of the times in this game, Chris has to do more work than Jill, simply due to his own stupidity. Though I will give him credit, this first one makes some sense. If you're playing as Jill, to unlock the secret passageway, you just need to bring the sheets to the piano and Jill will go ahead and play it. Chris, on the other hand, can't read sheet music and needs Rebecca to do it for him, taking up more time in his campaign for really no reason. Once the passage is clear, however, you will find an emblem which you can replace with the one in the dining room to unlock a clock puzzle that took my tiny brain too long to figure out. From this you get the shield key, allowing you to get past the door Richard was attacked in, and sure enough in this decrepit attic, you'll find the first major boss, Yawn the giant snake. Yawn can be a bit of a challenge first time round, especially with Chris. However, with Jill, not only can you get the grenade launcher located on the west patio, a weapon Chris can't get by the way, but also if you saved Richard earlier, he shows up to help you fend off Yawn. Sadly, at the cost of his own life.
Ooh!
In the attic, you can also grab the final mast needed for that underground dungeon. So you head back with all 4 masts in tow and slot them in, causing this ominous coffin to fall to the ground. And out pops the Crimson Head. If you've played Resident Evil Remake, you've probably already encountered one of these guys, however this is their cinematic introduction. Crimson Heads are zombies that you've killed and after taking a power nap, get right back up faster and stronger. There are only 2 ways to stop a zombie from turning into a Crimson Head, either blowing its head clean off the first time round, or by using the lighter in combination with gasoline that you can pick up in multiple rooms and burning the bodies. The supply of gasoline, however, is limited, meaning you have to choose wisely in which zombies to burn. I love this mechanic. It brings just an extra piece of resource management that adds to the tension. It also is a mechanic exclusive to the remake. Inside the Crimson Head's coffin lies the stone and metal object that you use to progress to the next area of the game, located in the forest behind the mansion. After following the path down, you overhear Barry on the radio, Wesker if you're playing as Chris, warning of a mysterious creature that bullets aren't effective on, and after solving a quick puzzle, you go towards a small cabin past a graveyard. It's also here you can pick up the best weapon in the game, the glorious Magnum, if you found a medallion inside the mansion prior. And some reason a bee defends this medallion of all things? Back at the abandoned cabin, you pick up a crank, but as you attempt to leave, you're given a swift bonk to the head. Your character quickly wakes up but is confronted by a disgusting chained humanoid figure who is impervious to your weapons. So run the fuck away. This monster is known as Lisa Trevor, a genetic experiment gone wrong. Now, that may sound strange to you if you're unfamiliar with the game, as the story presented to you at this point is very bare bones. That is due to many background elements for this game, and the series in general, have been delivered through scattered notes. By reading these notes, you can learn more context to the plot, mainly that the creatures you've been fighting are genetic experiments that somehow got out of a lab, killing all of the researchers staying in the mansion. You also learn that the man responsible for the research was a man named Oswell Spencer, and he purposely contracted the architect of the mansion to design its weird layout to hide the research. That architect is George Trevor, who learned too much and was killed, with his wife and daughter being the first test subjects of the research team, his daughter being the monster before you. This way of delivering story elements really adds to the mystery and horror surrounding the mansion. But back to the main story. Jill hears Brad over the radio, who has decided to undip, asking if anyone is still alive, but she is unable to contact him. One crank turn and poorly rendered cutscene later, you reach the second major area of the game, the Residence. The Residence is a much smaller and linear area compared with the main mansion, but still has its fair share of unique challenges. 2 you'll notice right away being these plant-like tentacles under the floorboards, and massive spiders that litter one of the rooms. These spiders aren't too difficult, however, especially with a well-placed shotgun shot, and the plant tentacles are completely avoidable if you know ahead of time. There are also more unique character interactions for Jill, as we hear Barry talking to someone through a door, and when questioned about it, he says he was just talking to himself. Barry Burton, A-class shot, D-class actor. After getting some keys, both characters head down a ladder into the Aqua Ring, in which RE1 ticks another box in the horror movie monster list with giant mutated sharks called Neptunes. The Neptunes aren't much of a threat to you though, due to their speed. Even the Big Mama who shows up if you take too long misses most of the time. You can also deal with them quite quickly once you drain the Aqua Ring with a quick puzzle and electrocute Big Mama, netting you the key to the final section of the Residence. Oh, also, if you save Richard as Chris, this is where he dies and gives you the assault shotgun. The last section of the residence is fairly straightforward, however... Okay, so in the final room of the residence, you'll find the source of the tentacles being a monstrous plant named Plant 42. Plant 42 is pretty annoying, but has a weakness, the V-Jolt formula, which is explained to be a failsafe for Plant 42. You create the V-Jolt formula by mixing different chemicals together as a puzzle, then throwing the V-Jolt on the plant's roots. The puzzle is stupid easy, just a simple math puzzle, since you find a book that tells you the numbers of all of the chemicals, and you just add them together. Jill is able to do this with no issues and doesn't have to fight Plant 42 directly. Chris, on the other hand, Chris can't do basic math. This means you have to fight Plant 42 by yourself. Now, if you didn't save Richard, Rebecca shows up and does the math puzzle herself. But even if you do this, Chris has to fight the plant anyway. So what the fuck's the point? Anyway, rant over, but once Plant 42 is dead, you unlock the helmet key, used to get through the last few doors in the mansion. As you leave, Chris meets up with Rebecca, if he hasn't already, and tells her that Richard has died. On the way out of the residence as well, both characters meet up with Wesker, as he says there are more rooms in the mansion left to explore, and sends them on their way, not before shooting his Magnum at seemingly nothing. Seriously, what the fuck, Wesker? Stop wearing the sunglasses, you can't see anything. At this point, you as a player may be feeling super confident, like you've already cleared out the mansion, what's a few more rooms gonna do? In which you couldn't be more wrong. Introducing the Hunter. Hunters are mutated frogs with a penchant for being a pain in the ass. Hunters are quick, can hit harder than a Crimson Head, and also have an attack that can one-hit kill you if it connects. Easily the most frightening enemy in this entire game, and one I personally have been afraid of since my first playthrough. If you can make it past the damn hunters, then there are a few more items left behind those final few doors. At this point, the game doesn't really give you a clear objective outside exploration, and I do think it's the weakest point in the game, as you have to connect some very small hints together to get an idea of where to go after clearing the mansion. I'll still go over the necessary items though. First up is the Eagle Medallion, located behind a moving wall room, which is more difficult than you expect with analog control. This room also leads you to the basement, where you can turn on the power for the main elevator. This is how you get another important item, the battery, which is used to access the next major area. A more important event on the third floor, though, is the reappearance of Yawn in the library, who goes down like a chump. Seriously, while he could be annoying in his first encounter, now with a full arsenal and a much wider arena, Yawn can't put up much of a fight. Beating Yawn also reveals the Wolf Medallion. Final thing left to do in the mansion is to get another key for the emblem door, which is locked behind a jigsaw puzzle, which to me is when Trevor truly gave up on the mansion's design. We then head into the room and claim the metal object, which looks the exact same as the one you found in the Crimson Head's coffin. Unless you're Chris, of course, because you have to run to save Rebecca from the hunters as soon as you enter the room, which you can also fail. With the mansion fully cleared out, you need to head outside near the residence to use the battery to open up a path to the caverns. This is what I was on about before with connecting small clues. You can find this elevator during the first visit to the residence, but the only indicator that you need to use the crank again is one line of text. The Caverns is another short segment in a similar vein to the residence, but I've never found it as interesting. With the first section not having too much going on other than an easy fight with a giant spider named Black Tiger, and some Indiana Jones references. The Caverns get more interesting when we find Enrico, head of the STARS Bravo team, near death. He says that the company named Umbrella set STARS up, and also there is a traitor within STARS. I wonder who it could be.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Before he can give any more details, though, he is shot through the chest, dropping another crank needed to progress. After this, you go through some rooms to obtain a cylinder and shaft you could use to repower the main elevator. And if you're playing as Jill, Barry decides to tag along, though quickly takes a page from Brad's book and dips back up the elevator. In the next room, though, we come across Lisa Trevor once again, avoiding her until you can unlock the door to the next room. This section truly shows how creepy Lisa truly is, since you have to repeatedly avoid her rather than just running away like in her first encounter. Once you get past Lisa, you discover her makeshift home and the stone object, which you of course combine with the metal object to now have two of the same item. And so we reach the beginning of the end, and no better place than at the beginning. Using two stone metal objects, you can unlock a door underneath the main staircase. Down below the mansion lies another tomb, where you find Barry if you're Jill, or Wesker if you're Chris, with Jill specifically having a confrontation with Barry after he points a gun at her. Both characters are interrupted by Lisa Trevor showing up for the final time. Here you can choose to give Barry his gun back, which gets him killed if you refuse. The encounter with Lisa is definitely a strange one. She still is unkillable like before. However, if you push 4 stones that circle the arena, it reveals Jessica Trevor's dead body, what Lisa had been searching for all along, and so Lisa takes her mother's skull and promptly leaves. Once dealt with, both characters will be sent on ahead to the next area, a large courtyard with a fountain in the middle, with 2 indentations for the medallions you found in the mansion. Once inserted, the water drains and you enter the final area of the game, the laboratory, the origin of all of the terrifying creatures you've been seeing. The lab is somewhat small, but is much more interesting than the previous small areas. A lot of story reveals also are laid inside this area. The first puzzle is a simple rearranging picture puzzle to get passwords for a computer, with hints to a solution being left by a scientist wishing for a woman called Ada to destroy the facility. Using the newly acquired passwords, you can unlock 2 rooms in the area. The first room has a projector that finally sheds some light on the whole mystery. The pharmaceutical company Umbrella are not what they claim to be, as they are actually developing bioweapons, BOWs for short, to sell for profit. The mansion was an Umbrella facility in which they created the T-virus, a virus able to turn those infected into monsters. Sadly, the virus got released, infecting the staff and unleashing the horrors that we've been fighting. The projector also reveals the staff working on the virus, including the one and only Albert Wesker.
No way!
Using a key we found in said projector room, we can progress through to the lab, encountering another BOW, the Chimera, a disgusting human spider hybrid. Chimeras are quick, but if you've made it this far, you should be fine, as there is something much scarier in this lab. Turning the power back on. To restart the power, you need to refill a canister at one end of the complex and bring it to another. The problem is the canister is filled with a nitro compound, meaning if you do anything other than walk, the canister will... This compound also detonates if you're hit, so be sure to clear out all of the areas before heading back. Another optional puzzle to do is the MO discs. By scanning these discs in multiple areas of the lab, you unlock an extra high security door. Behind the door, you'll find the other main character that went missing at the start of the game. You can't break them out now, but trust me, unlock this now and not later. The only place left to go is the main security elevator, taking you up to a security room. Your partner character joins you as well if they're still alive. In the room we find Wesker, who finally explains his plan. But not before Barry betrays Jill once again, due to his family being held captive by Umbrella. And for Chris, Wesker just straight up shoots Rebecca in the chest. Jesus Christ. Wesker then goes on to monologue about his plan. He created stars for the sole purpose of using them to generate combat data for Umbrella's BOWs, after the mansion went to shit. Now that he's got enough data, he intends to blow up the mansion, erasing all evidence of Umbrella's involvement. But before he does, he shows off the final Umbrella creation, the Tyrant. Wesker oodles over his creation and plans to use it to kill Jill and Chris. For Jill, Barry returns and shoots Wesker, apologizing to Jill for his betrayal. However, he is quickly knocked out by the tyrant that Wesker released. In Chris's story, though, the tyrant straight up impales Wesker, tossing him to his side, this being the canon death of the character. Now it's up to you to stop the tyrant, who is pathetically easy. Yes, the tyrant hits like a truck, but it's so slow it can almost never reach you, and with the Magnum or grenade launcher it goes down fairly quickly. Seriously, why is the hardest boss in this game the fucking giant plant? Once the tyrant is taken care of, the self-destruct sequence activates from the mansion, and Wesker's body is nowhere to be found. Both Barry and Rebecca are able to recover from their injuries and begin to escape. By the way, Rebecca had a bulletproof vest, which is why she's not, dead. You can also run and release the opposite protagonist who was imprisoned earlier. Your group then start to escape the laboratory. The player is sent to the exit to signal Brad to land. Just need to get this fucking battery in the stupid God fucking damn it. There we go. Once you signal Brad, your teammates join you on the helipad to finally escape. That is cut short though once the tyrant makes another appearance. This fight is much harder than the original due to the tyrant's increased speed. Brad, deciding to make up for his dipping shenanigans though, drops a rocket launcher, and with that, the tyrant is blown to pieces. Unless you're on hard mode, in which he bats it away the first time. Thus, ending the nightmare that is Resident Evil 1. What a game. There's a reason Resident Evil 1 shot the survival horror genre into popularity. This game is just so well designed, with every gameplay element adding to its atmosphere. And this GameCube remake just improves on everything the original had, as well as being one of the prettiest games released on the system. It's no wonder the franchise has been going on for 25 years.
Hey, I don't know what happened, but reality's fixed.
Well, that's good. Tell you what though, this experience has put me in the mood for some more Resident Evil. How about it? Let's look at every mainline game in the series to not only celebrate the anniversary, but also the release of Resident Evil 8 later this year. To keep it fair though, I'll look at the most updated release of each game. So next time we'll be looking at the critically acclaimed Resident Evil 2 remake.
That's right. This is the ultimate life form. Tyrant! Chris? Stop it.